Hello everyone, this is Stephanie from Little Steffi Big World, and I decided to do a mini album out of these scraps, like these scraps, these papers and these things of kit that I use for my Pisa travel scrapbook. And I have this 12 by 12 paper still left. This is the best collection of Studio Calico, and I'm using some rings, I'm using adhesive, scissors of course, and double-sided tape. This is my initial idea. I'm actually using a hole punch, a label maker for the titles. I'm also using an envelope punch board later on for one envelope that I want to make. But I was really in a creative rush. Like, I'm looking through my projects and I can't continue with the one that I wanted to do because I didn't have the album for it. My book was too small. So I wanted to do something small, and I decided, oh, we did a weekend trip, I could use these scraps. So I'm sorting them by size, just roughly, I have all these small stripes, I have something square, I have this bigger thing. So I'm going through each single one and putting them into different piles, so it's going to be easier for me later on when I'm doing the layouts to decide, okay, which pile I'm going to go through. Now, I want to make an album that's roughly an A5 size, so 15 centimeters by 21 centimeters. So that's something like 5 inches by what is that, 12 inches, something like that. So I'm cutting these really long scraps into the size, just roughly A5 size, because I already printed the pictures. So I know how many layouts I need, and I'm just deciding which ones I want to use, cutting them to size. Then I'm going through, like this one with the alphabets, I don't want to use that. And then I'm counting them here, so I know, okay, I need a few more, cutting them, and then I'm deciding, okay, which of this background paper is going to which picture. So I've printed the pictures 10 centimeters by 15 centimeters, so that's 4 by 6 inches. And I also have some stripes, like these photo booth style stripes, so they're the 3 pictures in a row. So I'm laying these out. This is like literally just from this one day that we went to the castle Neuschwanstein in the south of Germany. So it was also very easy for me to select the pictures that I wanted to have. Now my camera shut down because, I don't know, the battery was low or the memory card was full. After I decided on which paper should go with which picture, I went through the travel memorabilia and sorting them, in the right order. Because normally I would do that first. I was in such a rush. I was just like, yeah, I have this weekend trip, I have this scrap, so let's just do a layout. And I just went ahead, and even if you are not, following the steps that I decided for myself to do, it still works. If you're already in a mood to be crafty, then, well, it just works somehow. So I'm gluing down the pages back by back because this paper pad does have only one-sided paper, so the back is blank. So I'm gluing them down back to back and then cutting off anything that might be a little bit too big. Now I have this pink paper, and I've cut that to an A5 size, so it's the right size of the album. And then I'm using these as a template. So I'm using a normal hole puncher and punching it at the line, so I made a line at the middle, and this is going to be my template for where the rings are going to go. So I'm marking where I need to do the holes. So I'm marking this for each single page. So while I'm doing the layouts, I know where the holes are gonna go. So you will see later on that I'm using really small stripes. They're a little bit wider than these rings. They're a little bit wider than the holes that I want to make. So I want to put these stripes exactly where the holes are gonna go. Now I'm really happy with how this has come together, and it's not too much because the rings are not the biggest. They are like 35 millimeters. So just this map is a little bit too wide, so I'm resizing this. So because my camera was shut down, I'm slowing this down here so you can see some of the travel memorabilia. So I have this map, and this is a postcard of the guest house that we stayed, and they gave us some more information about the city we stayed in and about the area, about the things that you can do there. Like this is a brochure of the boat trips that you can do on the lake in Füssen. And this is the first page. Now I've already decided on the background. Now I'm going from the bigger pieces to the smaller pieces. So I'm deciding on smaller pieces that are gonna go as like a frame, and then I'm going even smaller, using something, you know, just for layering in between. And then I'm gonna go for these small stripes that you can see on the left of my desk that will go exactly where the holes are gonna go. And then I'm also using, this is like the layout for every page, I'm using one of these smaller pieces of the travel kit that I bought. These are 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters, so that's 2 by 2 inches. And then I'm also using my label maker from Artemio that I bought just recently to make the titles. So each layout of this mini album has the same elements in it, and that makes it really fast in doing the layouts. I'm also using these doilies, but not on every page. Like I think there are only like 4 pages or 5 that I use these doilies. I just had them lying around. So I'm choosing something for the framing of the pictures, some smaller pieces for the layerings, a small stripe for where the holes go, one of these small 2 by 2 inches pieces, and I'm doing all the titles with this label maker, which takes a bit of time, but it makes it, you know, comprehensive, or what's the right word? It's always the same elements on each page, so it makes it very fast to do. And after a while you're not too much looking at all the embellishments around the pictures, because you know it's always the same elements, the titles are always made in the same way, so you're more focusing on the pictures in the end, because that's what happens to my albums sometimes. I'm looking through them and it's more about what did I do around the picture, what did I put in behind, what stickers did I use, and it's less about the pictures. So this is because I couldn't really decide which picture I wanted to have, so I decided to do these 3-piece photo booth style pictures here of our walk from our accommodation over to the castle. And here you can see it as well. I'm using a stripe for where the holes are gonna go. I've got some bigger pieces as kind of a frame around the picture, some smaller pieces, this black one with the white dots, and the green one there that I'm making a fishtail out of. And then I'm also deciding on one of these 2 by 2 inch pieces. Here as well I'm using a doily, a bigger piece, and I'm fussy cutting around this golden like fishtail banner thingy, and it's got this hole in the middle that I don't want to have. I want to cut it out because it wasn't the right color, so I'm using my hole punch to do it, you know, to make the hole. So it's a lot of fussy cutting and deciding on small elements that should go on the layouts. Now when I finished all the layouts, and I also decided on the exact order of the pieces, I'm using this hole punch and punching the holes basically exactly where I've marked them. So I'm fast forwarding the video here now. It's a bit hard with some pieces, like this brochure is pretty thick, so you have to be really pushy on making these holes, and also the layouts, because there are at least 4 layers where the hole is going, but that makes the pages really sturdy. Now with this last page there, when that's done, you can see a ticket there at the right hand side. I couldn't decide which way I wanted to make the holes in this ticket, and I didn't want to glue it down anywhere. I wanted to have it handy. I wanted to have a, you know, in my hands at some point. So I'm deciding to make an envelope, and I have the envelope punch board from We Are Memory Keepers. So I'm measuring the ticket in centimeters and then deciding which size card or envelope I want to make. I need a bigger envelope so it fits in and I can make the holes. Now you don't need an envelope punch board. You can just, you know, buy an envelope that you want. So you just buy one in the store, make the holes and just use that. Or if you have the right size envelope, you use that as a template. So you're just tracing around where you want to when to cut it. You cut it down and glue it back together, basically. And here I'm using this. I'm not an expert on this envelope punch board. There are many YouTube videos on how you can do this, and it's very easy to use as well. I've made so many envelopes with this. It's so easy in many sizes as well, and actually you can do more than envelopes with this. If you get really creative, you know, just have a look. I'm using the double-sided tape here so the envelope really, you know, doesn't fall apart and the ticket falls out somewhere. And then I decide if I wanted the envelope to open to the top, and then I'm deciding no, it's better if it opens to the side, so I'm putting the punches, the holes there, and the ticket still fits. Now the kit also has some of these 10 by 15 centimeter cards, so that's 4 by 6 inches. I'm using these as journaling cards in between, and I marked my template there, so I have the holes in the right place so they are centered. So these journaling cards, I want them right in the middle. And now I'm putting everything into these 2 rings. Just putting everything, you know, there, so to see if it fits, if the rings are big enough. And when I come to this little pocket, I'm thinking, oh, this paper material is very thin. If I use, you know, if I take this album out a lot, it's gonna tear it. So I have this like punch enforcers, like hole enforcers. I'm deciding to use these white ones in the front and also in the back, so this is gonna last a little bit longer. In this pocket I've put another ticket of the other castle that we visited. And then I'm also doing this to this map at the very beginning, to the map of Füssen and the area around. I'm thinking it's a little bit thin, so I'm putting blue enforcers at the front because there's a little bit of a blue area there. And for the back I'm using the green ones, so it fits better, you know, to the color scheme of this piece of travel memorabilia. Now I've put everything in the rings and I'm really happy with how it looks, how it feels when you're turning everything, just making sure I can take things out like the ticket from the envelope. And then, although I'm not finished, I've decided I want to do the cover. My approach so far was to do the cover very last, like the absolute last step that you do is making the cover. I haven't done the journaling, I haven't gone through all of the layouts, you know, sometimes I want to go through and add some pieces here and there. I haven't done any of that, but I felt like, yeah, I want to do the cover, and I'm deciding on 2 pen and paper. So this green one is going to go in the front and this pink one in the back. So I'm actually seeing at the end, you know, after I've done the cover, I'm working on the inside, and when I closed the book again, the cover was a little bit dirty, you know, and a little bit scratched because it was going over my desk, and there's still stuff, you know, everywhere while you're working on this. So really do your cover at the very last step. This I really need to do this. even when I'm in a creative mood and running for it. Now I'm cutting these papers a little bit wider than the cover size, and the first one, this green one, is a little bit too small, but it's still okay. So I've cut the second one a bit bigger. Now I'm putting this cardboard, I'm gluing it down, I'm putting a lot of glue on it so it doesn't have any like air pockets in it. And as you can see in a bit, this left one that's going to go in the back, I've cut it wider, and it's going to be a little bit more easy to wrap around this chipboard. I'm cutting out these edges. It's not a right angle, it's a little bit more than that. I'm just eyeballing it. It's just to make sure I can flip these. And so I have got some flaps now on all the 4 sides. I'm putting glue on it, and then I'm starting with the long sides. So the long sides are gonna be covered over this cardboard first, and I'm making it smooth. I'm just making sure everything is down, and then I'm doing also the smaller sides. And you see here, because I've cut this piece of paper a bit small, it's a little bit harder to put the glue down, but it still works. You know, I'm covering the inside later with a lot of paper and washi tape and stuff, so I'm not too worried about this. And also the holes that you can see in the cardboard, I'm covering everything, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm not bothered by that. So now the cover is done. This is for the back, and I'm deciding to I'm marking the holes so I know while I'm decorating everything where the rings are gonna go through. So I put that down just to see, you know, while I'm putting down the other scraps and pieces and deciding what washi tape I want to use, where the titles are going and stuff. I'm using everything on both sides. So I'm using the pink and the green for the back of the cover and the front of that as well, and decorating everything with washi tape, with some doilies, one of these smaller pieces of the travel kit, and just making sure there are no air pockets in it. Everything is smooth, there are no edges, you know, hanging around, and making the marks for the holes. I'm using some doily here for the front, for the cover, and some washi tape, and just one of these small pieces there. I'm probably deciding to put one in the back, you know, at the very end, like the back of the book. Now the cover is done. I've done the outside, I've done the inside. I'm punching the holes and putting it in the book, into the rings there. So it really went so quickly. I did this whole mini album over a weekend. I started on Friday. I think I did like an hour or 2 on the Friday. I had another 5 hours on the Saturday, luckily, to really work on this album. And then I just had I think another hour just to finish off the journaling and some other bits and pieces on the Sunday. So yeah, the cover is done, and now I'm actually doing the journaling. Normally I would do that before. So here, for example, I'm using this postcard from the accommodation that we stayed. I'm putting some pieces of the scraps that I had from this paper collection there as well. And I want to, there's a little bit of space left. It's too wide. I want to put something there. So that's good that I sorted the scraps by size, so I know roughly where to look, you know, for something if I want to cover some space. I'm making a little fishtail here, cutting it to size and gluing it down. And I'm actually gluing over one of the holes. This is something I rather not do. You know, I've already punched the hole, and now I have to punch in the exact same spot again, so it doesn't, you know, doesn't get too big, or you have, you know, these 2 holes that are overlapping, you know what I mean? It doesn't look nice. You have to be very careful with that. So normally you should probably do the holes at the very last as well. Now there's some spaces to write on the smaller pieces here, so I have a little bit of journaling on the layouts themselves. but most of the layouts are on these cards in the back. So I'm putting some scraps there and some of these pieces as well. I'm actually struggling with journaling, so this is not only to make the page look prettier, but also to reduce the space that I have for the journaling. It was just a day trip or weekend, so this album is basically just about this one day, so there's not too much to write about. Now this is it. This is the last page, the last journaling, the last piece that I needed to do. This mini album is done. I hope this helped you, gave you some ideas, some inspiration to do your own travel scrapbooks, either if it's a small one or if it's a big one, on how you can do this really quickly with just limited supplies. I've got some more videos on my channel, and the flip through of this one is coming soon. So please subscribe to my channel if you want, and stay tuned for more, because I'm also doing another mini album, but more organized this time. See you soon, have a happy and safe travel, and scrapbook on. Bye bye.